Mother's Day. I know I should have some sort of Mother's Day message that is like from Hannah, offering little Samuel back to the Lord, or Proverbs 31, the virtuous wife. But no, we're going to be looking at kind of part two of this issue of the home and the family. Last week we talked about the kind of the internal pillars that secure your home, your marriage, your family, whether you're a spouse or whether you're a grandparent, whether you're a kid. We looked at these last week. We looked at these internal things that defend against the enemies that are coming. So this is an interesting little picture. It's a British fighting square. I know I had some military imagery last time, and you guys that are in the military, you're like, he's never been in the military, he should just shut up. But I do have two kids, but I also, 2 kids out of 4 that are in the military. But also when we went to Sudan, there's a group in eastern Sudan called the Bija, and there's a British poet, writer named Rudyard Kipling, and he wrote about the Fuzzy Wuzzies. That was the Bija tribe in eastern Sudan, and they're the only ones who ever defeated this British fighting square, where they rally everybody up and you just sort of defend on all 4 sides against the enemy that's coming. So last week we talked about how to rally up kind of internally. We looked at holding on to the high ground, talked about the sanctity of the home and marriage. So whether you have your notes or whether you're looking at the app, I will tell you this morning, the app notes have more points than the printed notes, which is kind of a good incentive to get the app. In fact, I was thinking about that later in the week. What if during the app there was always like bonus stuff in the app? That'd be kind of, or like a discount code for Wednesday dinner. You know, if you have the app, this Sunday there's a little discount code. So we built last week on 3 pillars. These are 3 pillars that how you prepare internally as a follower of Christ. You can't expect people that are far from God to even know these things. But for you, first off, to defend the sanctity, the holiness of the home, your marriage, your family, your kids, your grandkids, that structure. And so we talked about that last week. We talked about the second pillar of humility and selflessness, kind of being Christ-like, having this mind that's in you that was the same in Christ Jesus, who being in the form of God didn't think it robbery to be equal with God, but humbled himself, took the form of a man, took a servant, and lived and died on our behalf. So humility and selflessness, that second pillar. And then 1 Corinthians 13, loving acts and deeds, works. So those 3 things kind of being your fighting square, okay? And I know to make it a square I should have had 4 things, but I have 3. So maybe a fighting triangle to be ready for the attacks, these external threats that come to the home and to the family. So this morning, and it's kind of shameful, but I'll call it the top 7. If you have the notes, you're going to see nay 8. Now that's kind of a fun thing they used to do in the Old Testament. You know, here are 7 things, nay 8 things that the Lord hates. You know, so they're always adding one. I could probably add more to the list, even now. But the notes have 8 in the app. The notes that you have written have 7, which means you're going to have to write the 8th in. Make sense? Now, these threats have been around since time began, really. But it seems like that in the culture, and when I use the word culture, I'm saying that's the stuff, the world in which you swim. That's what you live in every day. That's your environment. That's the the grocery store and the magazines as you're checking out. That's television. That's media. That's your friends. That's the stuff you get in the mail. It's the stuff online. It's the world in which you swim. It seems like, even though these threats have been around for a while, it seems like they have really intensified in our culture. Now, one way to kind of think about that is zombies. And I want you to hang in there for just a second. But if you think of zombies, this is a picture of what zombies were like in 1968. So the first real zombie deal, and I'm not a zombie expert, but what's weird is I've got a couple of really smart friends who educated me about zombies. I didn't know anything about zombies. But if you think about zombies as an image of the threats that are against us, since the beginning of time, those that are dead spiritually have had it out for the people that were alive spiritually, for the values of those that are alive spiritually. And so there's always been this conflict between light and darkness, death and light, death and life. And if you use zombies as kind of an image on that, it might help you understand what's happening. So while we've always had this, it seems like these days it's a little more intensified. So I've got a little clip for you just comparing zombies in 1968 to zombies now. So have a look.
2 people are dead already on account of that guy. Take a look out that window, Plunkett.
Running out of time. I need specifics. I need answers.
I don't have answers.